good afternoon. Welcome to the ministry here in Jerusalem. I want to thank the NGO Monitor organization. I want to thank Professor Steinberg and Amy Herzberg for this work that has been done, and which we will study very, very carefully. But I can tell you that without looking into the details yet of the report, which we have just been receiving, so naturally we cannot make any reference to any specific organization or any specific country that funds those organizations. As I said, these details will be studied very carefully by us. I would say that even before, Dr. Steinberg, before even this document, which I regard very much, and it's a very important one, it was quite clear that the entire NGO system, and especially the human rights organizations, mostly have been manipulated today and have been used either by terror organizations or other elements for two things. First of all, to cover for their own atrocities, and secondly, to actually try and strip the right for self-defense from democracies. The Goldstone report is a case in point whereby we have seen a terror organization like Hamas, which is in no way different than Al-Qaeda or many other terror organizations in the world, that we saw that Hamas not only was conducting the most heinous criminal activities and war crimes by embedding themselves in and among civil populations, they also attacked Israeli civil populations, almost exclusively attacking civil populations, and then of course, try, whether it's their terror organizations or with the aid of Palestinian Authority and other enemies of Israel and peace, try to actually turn the table and depict the entire wrong picture and put Israel on the blame as the war criminal. So I think today, as we are in the eve of this International Day for Human Rights, I think bona fide, and we realize that there are many, many good bona fide human rights organizations and NGOs which have been created with good reason and which are working really with good faith. But they have to ask themselves, are they really fulfilling the purpose for which they have been created? Are they not being manipulated and being used as a tool or as pawns in this political warfare, judicial warfare that is being waged against Israel here or in other areas of conflicts in the world, as we see, whether it was in Iraq or in Afghanistan and other areas of the world. So really they have to ask themselves the moral questions. Are they really fulfilling their mission of human rights? Are they checking the real abuse of human rights in closed societies, in societies which are not democracies, democracies which are very much able and keen on self-criticism, on transparency, on accountability, and of course there are cases all over the world, but the strength and power of democracies is that these cases can be flushed out and be taken care of. But what happens to the real problems and abuse of women's rights, of teenagers, or children's rights, or minority rights in so many countries of the world which maybe do not even allow entrance for bona fide human rights organizations or delegations, emissaries, representatives to go and check, where their lives are being threatened if they even try to have a report in such countries. Iran, case in point, Libya, and many, many others which I will not mention. So So these real, bona fide human rights organizations have to ask themselves the moral questions. Are they really true to their mandate? Are they true to their cause? Are they true to the values? Are they true to the interests of humanity? This is the most important thing. Of course, there are some organizations, whether they're NGO, human rights, which are rogue organizations. And I think it will be very interesting to learn this report, where they get their fundings. But it's not just a day of reckoning for human rights organizations and NGOs tomorrow. I think it's also a day for countries. Respectable countries which fund many of these organizations. And they have to ask the political questions: are they doing the right thing? Any nation that funds NGOs that attack, whether it's Israel or other democracies, and support the BDS campaign, the boycotts, divestment, and sanctions campaign against Israel in this case, is simply against peace. No nation can dismiss their role when they give $1 or €1 to an organization which viciously delegitimizes Israel. The leaders of the BDS campaign have said openly that they do not seek a two-state solution for two peoples. Omar Barghouti, the leader and the founder, actually, of this the BDS campaign, or the BDS movement. By the way, he is also a student of, incidentally, of Tel Aviv University. Omar Barghouti, Mr. Barghouti, says openly that he is against the two-state solution and peaceful coexistence between Arabs and Jews, Israelis and Palestinians. He says, and I quote, "If the occupation ends, would that mean an end to my call for BDS? No, it will not." End of quote. So here I say again, any nation funding an organization involved in the BDS campaign is against peace, regardless of the amount of funding or declarations of ignorance. We say to every nation involved with such an organization, quite simply, you paid for it, you own it, and there are no excuses. BDS doesn't just work against Israel, it is an enemy of peace. It is part, unfortunately, it is a part of a Palestinian cycle of evasion and rejectionism, and allows them to hope that their maximalistic demands are met without having to concede or negotiate on a good faith manner on a single issue. If I can kind of deviate to the current situation or the current state of negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians, it is obvious that they are at impasse, not that we will give up, and we will continue to follow and look up to American leadership and involvement. And I believe that some ways will be found to overcome this impasse. But every nation around the world, as I mentioned, has to ask a simple question: are they working towards peace or assisting in the continuation of this conflict? And there are no really other options here. The artificial and unilateral declaration of a new state of Palestine, which is being now promulgated by the Palestinian leadership, this will not bring peace, but could conceivably make the conflict far, far more serious. The only way to peace is a negotiated solution agreed to by both parties on two-state solutions for two peoples. Every other way, whether it is unilateral declarations of statehood or an imposed peace, will only lead to more bloodshed and pain. For 17 years, Israel has never hesitated to meet with the Palestinians anytime, anywhere, to discuss anything. The Palestinians, on the other hand, have perpetuated a cycle of evasion, transigence, and rejectionism. Their strategy is all too familiar and has repeated itself for many years. And we see a strategy. Firstly, the Palestinians look for any excuse to avoid negotiations, creating excuse after excuse. They purposefully, and I think very callously, evaded negotiations after the very generous concession, difficult concession for Israel, of a moratorium for 10 months on settlement activities. It didn't help. They still did not come to the table. Secondly, while running away from the negotiation table, they attempt to place the onus and blame on Israel. Third part of the strategy, as we see, is that they threaten Israel and the international community with unilateralism. And finally, the Palestinians attempt to smear and attack Israel in any and every forum. And this is the main relevance of this very dangerous strategy of the Palestinians to the issue today on international rights and negotiations. They manipulate, they use it not to move forward, and actually these NGOs, this human rights community, whether by default or by design, give a cover to the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinians to continue with this evasion, rejectionism, and with trying to put the onus on Israel. So they do not have to come and discuss among themselves and make the decisions that they have to make. Israel has made its own painful decisions. We have compromised throughout the last 17 years, not only in the sense that we have agreed on a two-state solution, an independent Palestinian state, which is not something which was automatic or inevitable or something that had not been needed some discussion here, and many other issues. So, lastly, in this important day, as we mark the International Human Rights Day, I also would like to mention the one person in our region that has no human rights at all. And this is Gilad Shalit. Gilad Shalit should be the most burning issue on the international agenda. Here is a young man caged like an animal by terrorists without the right to see the light of day, or to receive communications from loved ones, or even receive a visit by the Red Cross or any other human rights organizations, which I am not sure have made any attempt to come and visit and see him or report about his conditions. If the continued imprisonment of Gilad Shalit is not made a major issue by every human rights organization around the world on International Human Rights Day tomorrow, then it will make this entire day a mockery. Thank you very much.